Welcome back. Hope you're enjoying your day here at the X Takeover Day 1. Franz von Holzhausen coming up a little later, but first, something super cool. First, I want to bring back somebody who's already been on stage today. I got to talk to her earlier. Kim Java from the Kim Java YouTube channel. Come on up. And behind her will be a gentleman, if you don't know him now, you're about to be very fascinated. Carl Medlock, an original Tesla employee who now is basically the guy to take care of all the original Roadsters. He's got a shop in Seattle. He's got stories to tell, and Kim's going to tell those stories. Carl, come on up.
All right. Thank you. All right. So we made a video together about a month ago, I would say. And Carl has a shop, Medlock and Sons, in Seattle, Washington, and we finally were able to connect. And it was so incredible. If you guys haven't had a chance to see it, go check out our channel. But I kind of wanted to go over with you some of the things and talk about the Roadster that you brought here today, because this is one of the barn finds. This is one of the China Roadsters. Raise your hand if you guys have heard about these Roadsters. Okay, so a lot of you guys have. So I'm going to kind of let you take over here, just kind of fill people in on the significance of these Roadsters.
Part of the fascination for me with these three cars was I worked in China after I left Tesla for a number of years, and I left. And these cars ended up on a dock for engineering test mules. A couple of pieces of the story that nobody can seem to fit together yet. There are two of the cars that have rodent damage, a lot of rat damage. That is one of them. The harness on that car is going to have to come out and be repaired and put back because there isn't a harness available for it. But how did those cars get into sealed containers that float in the ocean, but they ended up with rodents in it? There were four cars. There's three. People know about three, but there was actually a fourth car. It's red. It's fusion red, and that car is in pieces. So if you go over and look at that car, everything that's orange and everything that's tan, I have all those pieces, but I don't have the chassis. I have the wheels and tires and the seats and the body and all the pieces all bubble wrap, but I don't have any of the chassis. And these cars are going to be significant because every vehicle that is manufactured gets a statement of origin from the manufacturer, MSO. And there's a car in Europe that has never had the MSO cashed, is what they say when the car goes to a DMV after the car is sold. Then that goes through Department of Licensing, and starts the car off on its life in the DMV. These cars have never had those MSOs cashed. So they've never been titled. A local guy who lives here in Santa Barbara owns the cars. And I negotiated the sale. It took them almost probably 7 or 8 months to negotiate the sale. We were concerned that the cars were in China, but China is a large tariff for the United States. So we had the cars, kind of during the negotiations, the cars ended up in a ship and ended up in Dubai where it's tariff-free. And then cars were in the ocean somewhere, and we started renegotiating for the sale. So the owner of the car bought them for $800,000 for the three, and then the fourth car shows up. It was all parts were part of the negotiations. He's given me the parts for the fourth car to repair another Roadster, but we're actually going to build a stand for the pieces and just display it that way. All three of the cars will eventually end up in a museum. The same owner has a Tyrannosaurus Rex that's complete that he's purchased. And he has the largest coin collection in the world called the Tyrant Collection. And he owns part of what Queen Elizabeth, she was also a coin collector, he owns part of those coins. This guy has coins all the way back to the Romans. So it's kind of I've been very fortunate working for Tesla, meeting some of these people, getting to learn their stories.
So let's talk about a little bit of your history and how you got involved in Tesla, because you go way back into the early days. What year, do you remember what year it was when you first started working for Tesla?
Well, they called me in September of 2008, and I didn't even know who Tesla was. And I'm a car guy. I'm a turbocharged, supercharged, nitrous oxide, big tires, trucks. I'm that guy, right? And I've been around cars my whole life, motorcycles. And Matt Giambruno called me and asked for me a job and asked me if I was interested in a job in 2008. And my dealership, I was a car dealer at the time, and it was doing really well, and I didn't really want the job. And I knew that was going to happen. Sorry. So I stopped being a car dealership. Anybody that's old enough to know that October 2008, when the economy took a dive, my dealership was doing really well because I was selling cars that were $10,000 or less, and I sold 300 cars in 1 month, and there was two of us. Because the economy was diving and people were losing their $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 cars. So eventually I ran out of cars. And January 1st rolls around, I don't have any inventory. I've sold everything I owned. I didn't have any inventory. I was looking online to get some cars. I've got my pickup loaded with a couple of people, and I have a car trailer on the back of my pickup with a car dolly. We were going to go to Oregon to pick up 5 cars. And my phone rings, and it's Matt Giambrino offered me that job at Tesla again. I thought, put my car in park, and that was the end of me being a car dealer. I'd never been to San Francisco. I said, free trip to San Francisco, and I kind of just did it as fun. I got to San Francisco, and I ended up running into a guy named Greg Zangi, if you know him. He was the director of parts and service at the time. They asked me to tell the coolest story, best customer service story I ever could tell, and just so happened to involve Greg Zangi, and I didn't even know the guy. I'd never met him, about a Ducati that I had. And then the guy walks in, Jameson Cummings walks in, and he interviews me, and I had worked with him at a dealership in Seattle, and I didn't remember him either. So between the two of those people, they said, we're not going to interview you. And or Jameson did, walked out of the room, and that was the end of that, and I didn't think I was going to get the job. And then he kind of laughs and goes, you don't remember me, do you? So he told me the story about how we had met at this dealership in 1998, and all these years later, they were offering me a job. So that's how I ended up going to work at Tesla. I wasn't looking for a job, but I found one.
And what were the early days like? Can you kind of fill people in on how many hours a week you worked, what it was like working with Elon, and kind of explain what that was really like?
It was this all day, every day. How many Tesla employees are here, do you think? Anybody know how many employees are here? So this event there would have been 3 or 4 of us because there just wasn't enough staff to run around. But we did these ride and drive events. What's kind of interesting to me today is how many people have argued over there by that Roadster about the car doesn't exist, and how the new Roadster, that is the new Roadster that's coming out. And I actually watched an ex-Tesla employee about 30 minutes ago, actually maybe 45 minutes ago, an ex-Tesla employee, some lady was basically ready to go to fisticuffs with him because he was lying because that car doesn't exist. I thought, well, it's right here. We're not sure what to say. But Tesla was fun. We had 100-hour weeks were pretty normal. You know, people say you can't do a 100-hour week, but you know, when you're having fun, it kind of just went away. We just did it. Nobody complained. I don't remember ever hearing anybody complain. If people didn't do their jobs, they just vanished. It was, either you made it at Tesla, or you didn't.
And then were you guys all just inspired by the mission of what you guys were building when you were working there? Or how did you work those long weeks and those long days, and feel motivated?
It was really exciting because in the very beginning, you were meeting people that you would never have the opportunity to meet. Roadster owners, original Roadster owners are some of the richest people in the world. I have the original sales list. Here's a little secret. This back in 2009, a woman that worked in the office, admin type stuff, was keeping track of a Roadster. Back, anybody that knows Roadsters well enough, there was a recall in the very beginning. And she was tracking the recalls and all the service work. And Tesla was small enough, this was all done on an Excel sheet. Well, she mistakenly sent out that Excel sheet, her copy, that had every Roadster ever sold in the world. Well, about 6 seconds later, IT was sending out emails to delete that. But of course, I'd already had it on a USB stick. And I saved it. So then I started looking at the who's who of the world. And the who's who of the world bought Roadsters. If you, I guess I probably shouldn't say any names, but there are a lot of really well-to-do people in the world that have bought Roadsters, and I've been to a lot of their homes all over the world, and they treat you really, really well. I've stayed in guest houses. There's a guy who has a guest house in Canada. That's a 12,000 square foot guest home. I stayed in that place a couple times. That was fun. And I've been to a lot of these owners I never even met. They would just leave us keys to the house and say, "Oh, go do your thing. I'll see you later." It's like, okay.
So what's interesting about these Roadsters now is that they've been around for about 12 years, and now they're starting to need some repair. So you are one of the few shops out there that actually knows how to service these things, and you even have pieces that you guys build on your own for them. So what are some of the things that you're seeing that has to be repaired on them?
Well, we build all the parts for the car that Tesla doesn't anymore. So whatever is out of stock, I check inventory on a regular basis. So whatever they don't have in inventory or what's running out of inventory, we'll start tooling up to build that part. We build all the body. We build every body panel. We build suspension stuff is a lot of it trade-off with Lotus. So that's stuff we find and source all these pieces. We build wheels. We build brakes. We build Right now, we're having a run on batteries because they're aging out. There are a couple Roadsters that still exist. Give you guys some positive input. There are 2 Roadsters that are out there that still charge up to 240 miles on the original 2008 battery pack. It really boils down to the heat. You know, the heat. A lot of you have seen lately that the 2012 and 2013 Model S's are losing their batteries. That's basically, it's an inadequate cooling for the pack issue, cars that have been supercharged. We're doing, we have about 47 Roadsters in our shop today. We have some pretty rare VINs. We have Founders 8. We have VIN 4. Any of you watch SMASH, the TV series, and the tall, bald-headed Dr. Winchester, David Ogden Stiers was a friend of mine for a long time. He gave me that car in his will when he died. That was a pretty moving experience to have somebody will you a car, and then I got willed another one. So I don't really like that experience. I mean, it's great to have the car, but it's pretty humbling actually.
So tell them about when I was visiting your shop. You had a car that you bought on auction. You thought you were buying it for pieces, and then you opened up the door.
Oh yeah.
So maybe you can share that story.
So we bought VIN 966. It's a white car, and we had the car for a couple of years, but we were taking electronics off the car, and we started, apparently from looking back, we started the driver's headlight and kind of went around the passenger side and down that side, but we never opened the driver's door for over 2 years of owning the car. We opened the door, and Elon and Franz and 5 engineers and all these people had signed the door. It's like, where did this come from? So I traced the history back on the car, and Franz apparently had bought it for his father, is the story that I have. And we're going to restore the car, although it was in it looks like a head-on collision. It's pretty rough, but we can fix it.
So you're planning on restoring that one, and then what would you do? Would you sell it? Would you keep it? What do you do with something like that?
I mean, I can't hold on to them all.
I feel like his shop is almost like a museum. When you go inside of this place, there's so many relics in there. You almost need a museum to kind of show off some of these pieces that you have that you've saved from over the years. It's really a museum of Tesla.
We collect Tesla memorabilia, and I'm creating a library right now of the ex-Tesla shirts, because Tesla had all these really cool shirts in the beginning, trying to get their name out there, and I'm collecting all these shirts or pictures. Some people won't give them up, but I'm collecting all these shirts. We're making a catalog. We're trying to catalog all the original memorabilia, because if you think about it, early on, nobody knew Tesla was going to make it. I don't know if you've ever seen the little Roadster cubes. Anybody, the original Roadster owner, got a little cube, a laser etched cube. I just found out the other day there were 3 different variations of that cube, because I have all 3 of them, and I just happened to open them up. I thought, I just had 3 of them. I didn't know they were different, and I looked at them, and there's like, oh.
Wait, I didn't even know about this myself. So what kind of cube? Like, what do you mean? What kind of cube did they get?
It's acrylic, and it's got a Roadster that's laser etched in the middle of it. And some of them, like David Stiers' car, which is the one I was looking at, had his cube was laser etched in 2006 when he put money down on the car. So I don't know exactly the timeline with all that. It was right before I started, when they were handing out leather swatches and paint codes. Paul Allen, the ex-co-founder of Microsoft, I ended up with all the stuff, memorabilia from his car. His car was bought, VIN 95. His car was purchased by Tesla. And then I don't know if anybody didn't know whose car it was or what, but that car got parted out. That went to scrap.
And a unique thing about Carl is that he remembers every VIN number and who's owned that VIN number of these original Roadsters. So how many original Roadsters total were built?
2,450 is the total number. We figure that about 12 to 1,300 ended up in the United States.
And how many of them are kind of like in existence right now, like still out there?
I'm guessing around 1,000. I think that early on, Tesla, anything with a scratch in the tub, the aluminum chassis, those cars got parted. Those cars were totaled out, because Tesla would, any mar on a panel was a requirement to be replaced, and a lot of cars got parted out for scratches in the tub.
So do you find that people now are driving them still, or are they keeping them more as like a collectible piece?
We have 2 camps. We have the collectible that are bringing the cars to us for restorations. We have about 12 restorations going right now on car. People are putting their car back to original. We've had a couple cars that were highly customized, and we're putting those back to original, where they actually cut panels. And we have one that's just horrible, but we're all new body. We can fix the car.
All right. So this also kind of brings us back to how you ended up with these original original Roadsters right here and how they ended up at your shop with the China Roadsters. So we talked about you having them, but what was the journey for them to end up at your shop?
So the owner of these cars has 2 other Roadsters. The story I heard, and I don't know if it's true, was he purchased a Roadster and he was rear-ended on his way home and went back and bought the exact same car again and now still has them both. We just restored one of them, and one of them has actually came on the truck with that car coming back here. We have another one at the shop, but he was a good customer. We started talking about these cars and a couple other topics, and he was thinking that he was interested. So I reached out, made a bid on the car. Then there was some controversy over a $2 million bid that so I basically cut out the middleman and went straight to the owner of the car and just negotiated the deal. It took probably close to 7 months to do that. And I've never met the owner of the cars. I ended up with $800,000 of his money, talk about trust, and bought these cars for him. And then it took about 3 or 4 weeks because we needed to document the MSOs and do a lot of critical, I would say, documenting of the items, and then making sure that they were preserved properly. Because if those MSOs get damaged, those cars there's no paperwork to them. So we did a lot of things up front, but that's all in place now, and the paperwork is here in Santa Barbara, and I have the cars.
So what are some of the things the story was out there a lot in the news, and there were certain things that were mentioned that weren't maybe as accurate that came out about them. Did you hear anything that maybe you'd like to clear up about different? You said there were some offers being made that maybe were not real offers or anything.
I don't know the whole story, because I was not, a normal auction would be an auctioneer like up here in Barrett Jackson, the car rolls past, bid. These were closed bids, so nobody knew about the bidding or where it was going. And the owner of the car told me when I told him there was a $2 million bid, he was surprised because he said he didn't know about it. So we backed out because this guy was not going to pay $2 million for the cars. We just backed out and let it go for 3 or 4 months. And then they circled back to us and said, the guy that owned the car said, "You're the only bid. You're the only." I don't know if that was the only legitimate bid or whatever. And so we ended up working it out. I flew to Phoenix and I looked at the cars, and they were well cleaned up. This car has some damage. If you go look at that car, there's a bunch of pock marks and stuff all the front bumper. They tried to remove the paint protection film with a pressure washer. It should have been used with steam. Not a big deal. The bumper in that car's damaged anyway from, that was a front car in a container, had a big pillow in the front of it, so the pillow expanded and the heat inside of the container, 120, 140 degrees, compressed that bumper, so we're going to have to heat that back bumper back up. That's the one part I can find. If anybody here has a 2.5 front bumper, I need them.
And then there was the fourth one that no one talked about that you kind of said that was in there in pieces. And so we believe, or you told me when we were talking, that you believe it was probably they'd been purchased to be re-engineered in some capacity. It'd been taken apart, you think? So those
cars were, the story we heard was the cars were purchased by an engineering firm to reverse engineer. And what I'm understanding is 3 of the cars were not taken apart, but the 4th one was dismantled for the engineering, and nobody knows where the chassis went, the motor went, or all the electronics. Everything you'd need to make that car digitally is gone. Mechanically, I have all of those pieces. So I have suspension and steering and all that stuff, but I don't have any of the electronics. So I think they managed to take the one car and get somewhere with it, but none of us have seen a car pop up out of China that looks like a Roadster. So.
And then how do you think the rodent got in there?
I don't know. That's an interesting, because if those containers float in the ocean, how'd the rodent get in and out? Unless the rodent was already in there, or were the cars, the claim was the containers were never opened on the dock. So apparently there was several $100,000 worth of storage for us to get them off of the dock in China, to get them to Dubai, to get them here. We're gonna keep piecing the story together. I'll eventually end up in China. He wants me to go to China and chase the story down. I'll eventually be in China to chase this down, but we'll see how it goes.
It's fascinating. But I did want to open this up to you guys if you had any questions for Carl, because he's really just like this wealth of knowledge going back to his early days at Tesla. and knowing everything that there is to really know about the original Tesla Roadster. So if you guys, is there anyone out there that has any questions about the Roadsters or the China Roadsters, or any questions about a particular VIN number? He remembers every VIN number. Let us know. Feel free to raise your hand.
All right, Carl, I'll test your VIN knowledge.
Let's see.
Since Kim seems to be, giving you all this credit, here you go. You got 2 VINs. Ready?
All right, go ahead.
254,
Okay. I don't know who owns 254.
725,
I don't know who's that one. I do know 725, but I don't remember why. What color is it?
black.
Where are these cars from?
What does that mean? Where are they from?
Where are they? Where are they at now?
The 725 is probably in New Jersey. 254 is in heaven.
725 is black.
Yeah,
254 got totaled out.
yeah.
So one of those cars, I believe,
Both mine.
they're both yours. So did you wreck it? Yeah.
Yeah, 254 was totaled on September 27, 2009. Amazing story. I'm not going to bore everybody else here with that, but
Do you still have 725?
no, I sold it at low market.
40K?
65. Oh,
65. So that car on Bring a Trailer, that black Roadster that was sold for $40,000, the actual bottom of the market, that was my car.
And I'm okay with it because I had such an amazing ride. Few people here know the journey that I had with Tesla. But what was amazing was the 254. I paid $92,000, right?
Right.
The original, $50,000 down, $92,000. And when they totaled it out, they gave me $120 check. My wife said, "Okay, you're done with your fun. Now go buy a real car." I went to Tesla on Santa Monica, still there, kind of thing. Talked to Jeremy, and I said, "Hey, I want another one." And he's like, "Here you go. Here's a check." And
Jeremy Snyder.
725. Yeah.
He's a good guy.
So it's Tesla. The Tesla journey is an amazing journey. I've heard your name, so Kim, thanks for interviewing him. I really just enjoyed it, just sitting out there in the sun, reminiscing. So thank you for giving me some memory lane.
Nice to meet you. I haven't met every Roadster owner. I know if I've ever worked with them or met them, I remember the car.
By the way, I'm not super wealthy either. I did buy IPO stock.
Well, there's your money. The one Roadster. So not everybody that owns Roadsters was wealthy. There's a Roadster owner in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, that mortgaged her house, got a second mortgage on her house to put solar panels on. She didn't know how to do calculations on the solar panels, so she covered her entire roof. It was a Rambler house. She covered her whole roof with panels. It's paid for the house. It's paid for her retirement. She worked in the Department of Natural Resources, and it paid for her house. It paid for the car, and it's paid for her retirement.
Oh, it's amazing. So what are some of the things that do make the Roadsters more valuable than other Roadsters?
Well, if you look back at cars in general, there are less Roadsters ever built than there are Shelby Mustangs still driving today. So that's what makes this car valuable, is this rarity. That and the fact that it's the first electric car. Had Elon, this whole thing fizzled out and Tesla not made it to this, the cars wouldn't be as valuable. But this is the first electric sports car that actually made. It's the reason you're all here today. I mean, if without that car right over there, and gentlemen like that one that bought 254 and 725, none of you would be sitting here.
I definitely agree with that. Now, how do you feel about this next gen Roadster that's supposed to be coming out? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I want to see the 1 second. I don't want to ride in it. I want to see it. Because there was a VIN 581 that was ultra fast, and there's been some talk about this online. Belonged to a guy named Perry Fell. He's passed away. That guy actually bought VIN 79. It was wrecked. This is funny. It was wrecked at Hethel. They fixed it. Perry Fell. Now worry about it. Take care of it. I get to Menlo Park, my first few days of training. The car was there, but it was wrecked. So it made it to Hethel. It got fixed. Came back to the United States. A new employee turned off traction control. And you don't want to do that on a Roadster. Turned off traction control. Spun it around. Ran it into a pole. Perry says, "I don't want that one." He gets VIN 581. Super happy with the car. VIN 79 goes to Dubai. They don't plug it in. Tesla employees fly to Dubai, put a battery in this guy's car, and they own all. Believe it or not, all the tools to do a service for a Roadster are somewhere in a basement of a hotel in Dubai. I could find them if I had to go back. But that was what happened. That car ended up getting 2 batteries in it, and now it's back in the U.S. somewhere.
So interesting. And I feel like a lot of like when you're going and you're talking about the community, there's this community of people that used to work at Tesla. You've had situations where you need to find certain keys or certain things, and you're calling up old employees and old friends of yours to be able to find things. And it's really like this niche little community within the community.
So I try to remain friends with the people that I worked with at Tesla. When those cars were in Arizona, I got the VIN numbers for the cars, and I made a text. I sent a text to the guy that. So, backing up, Tesla kept I don't know if they did it on purpose. They must have kept all the valet keys for all these cars. It's a plastic key without a remote. I don't know why they did it, but they did. And there was a box of keys for these cars, and it was at Menlo Park, and it just stayed in the service manager's office forever. Well, they closed Menlo Park eventually, and this guy ended up with the keys. Well, I knew he had the keys. So I said, hey, do you have the keys for these 3 vans? He goes, let me look. 3 days later, I had a FedEx package handed to me with the keys to those cars that were from China. So it's good to remain friends with the people you work with.
Yeah, we have a question right here.
I got a loud enough voice, probably everybody would be able to hear me. Okay. All right, my question is, out of the people that worked at Tesla, we know that they're bright, we know that they're dedicated, they're going to work hard and everything like that, but the people that stuck, that were able to stick with it and get all the way through the Roadster production and everything, what would you say are the characteristics that those people had that really made it work?
They don't quit. Nobody at Tesla had quit in them. If they just didn't make it. I mean, some people couldn't take the hours, and they just, I hate to admit this, but the statute of limitations is all expired. But I would interview people. I did 50 interviews. When I was staffing Fremont Service, I did 50 interviews in one day. And my desk was from here to that fire extinguisher, twice as far from that fire extinguisher right there, from the front door. And I put my desk so I could see them walking through the front door. The guy with his shoulders down, he wasn't going to be a service advisor. He might work in the back in the parts department, but he's not going to be a service advisor. And I would interview people based on, I've already seen their resume, I'd already looked at all that stuff, and it was the way they walked and their body language was, we're going to be able to make it. And there was a kid who walked in, he just got shirt and tie. I mean, nobody came to do a job interview at Tesla in a shirt and tie, except this kid. Came in shirt and tie, and he gets up, and he was a lady that was sitting in the waiting room. He gets up and gives her his chair and gets her some water, and I thought, wow, what a nice kid. And he was 30 minutes early for his interview. And I interviewed him. He goes, I'm here to be a car wash detailer. And I said, not going to happen. Why? I said, it's not going to happen, dude. You're not going to get that job. But I'd like to be a service advisor. I can't do it. I said, you don't have a choice. Do you want a job at Tesla? He goes, yeah. And I said, then you're a service advisor. Start warming up to the idea. He still works there.
Very cool. Anybody else? We may have time for one more question, if anyone. Yeah, go for
it. Jack Bowers, original owner of 172. What advice would you give for Roadster owners that want to have insurance that covers the collector value of the car?
So we've had right now we have about 7 body jobs going right now. We have one body job that's about $70,000 to repair the car. I'm gonna have to reduce my prices on all my parts so they don't total the car out, which I'm willing to do to save them. I've done that before. Haggerty has been pretty well with the insurance. USAA right now is about the best, but we're having a lot of trouble with Farmers, State Farm, PEMCO, not paying the claims. We're having a lot of trouble with that. Now, Roadster owners, they pretty much leave us alone, and we're pretty fair with all that stuff. But we're having a lot of trouble with Progressive and Geico is one of the worst. But as far as Roadster owners go, stated value with Haggerty is the only way that I would insure a Roadster is stated value.
Have there been any claims with Tesla?
I don't think I've never had a Roadster claim with Tesla.
Oh, okay.
We don't accept insurance jobs at our shop. I don't like insurance companies. Period. I'm not gonna pull any punches either. I can't stand those people. We had a job, billionaire client, son. The parts alone were $7,800 for this job. Progressive paid $1,700, would not pay the difference on the claim, and let that car sit there for 4 months until the owner's father offered to pay the job. And you know what? They never paid the claim. $6,000 less than the parts alone. The job was $14,000 total, and they paid like $1,700. You got to be, if you're gonna wreck your car, you better learn how to fight, because that's what insurance companies expect.
Thank you.
A really quick one. Will the Foundation Series Cybertruck ever be as valuable as those original Roadsters?
I don't know. I think all first VIN, low VINs are going to be valuable of everything.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Definitely go check out the Roadster over here. And thank you, Carl, for coming. We appreciate everything you do. Saving history right here. I think that it's so cool, too, to see all this, because it really has inspired. These Roadsters are what set the foundation for why we're all here today. So I love that you're able to preserve them and bring it to life.
Thank you, everyone. If you're in Seattle, stop by the shop. We'd love to have you.